Good day. It's Saturday, and I wanted to mention a few things today just to, I hate to say just get them off my chest, but just to get them off my chest. This upcoming meeting that your president, and unfortunately my president, Donald John, is having with Vladimir, the puppet master, Trump being the puppet, as I'm sure you know, it's sort of frightening. I'm an old guy, so there's not a whole hell of a lot that can happen from that meeting that would affect me directly, but it can affect my children, grandchildren, and the rest of the children of this entire nation. You've all heard of the expression that's used, the Manchurian candidate. Donald John is actually the Manchurian candidate, but he wasn't brainwashed. His slimy brain was involved with crooked money and mafia money and Russian money long before he ever thought about running for president. Right now, I really don't think it's a secret. I hope all of us are waiting for Anonymous to show the world that they're as good as the Russian hackers. And the only way that Anonymous is going to do that is to break in there, get a hold of the last 20 years of his income tax, publish them online, get into his computer system, and publish all his emails. But having said that, and I just digress, it absolutely frightens me, the thought of him sitting down with Vladimir Putin. There is absolutely no way we can conceive of what he could give away as far as this country is concerned. Yes, he could just end the sanctions, or at least make an attempt to end the sanctions. But he could also just tell Russia that Eastern Europe is theirs. It's your sphere of influence. You take it, it's all yours. And the next thing we would see would be the Russians going into the rest of the Ukraine, maybe into Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia. All of those Eastern European countries are in real danger of going under what used to be called the Iron Curtain again. The real problem with all of that, from an American standpoint, is not only the incredible war that would ensue within Europe, but that we don't know what else Donald Trump can give Putin. And the problem is he's going to be meeting with Putin, and my guess is there's sure as hell not going to be cameras around to listen to what they have to say. And the only thing we're going to have to deal with is what Trump says. Now, we all know virtually everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie. I mean, Donald John is not capable of making, whether it's making a speech, talking to anyone for a matter of 30 seconds plus without lying. He's simply not capable of telling the truth. He's a grifter. He's a con man. He's something out of the sideshow circuses that used to be called, con men at sideshows that would defraud you out of literally the clothes you're wearing. God, that's his daughter's job. The bottom line really is that we don't know what damage he can do to the United States of America. We catch a spy or someone leaking information like Snowden, we put him in jail. Hello, Donald John did the exact same thing with that information on where he received from Israel. He isn't in jail. If a regular person would have done that, they'd be in jail. Well, giving away Israeli information is one thing. No telling what he could possibly give away in a private discussion with Vladimir Putin. And we as humanity, we as Americans, have no clue just how much damage he could do. How much damage he could do to all of us, to all of our children, to all of our grandchildren. Somehow, some way, the Republican Party, the leaders in the House of Representatives, and it irks me to think of the word leader in Republican in the same breath. But there are leaders in the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. I can't really think of one that I would trust, but I'm certainly hoping that one of them, two of them, three of them, four of them, some of them from states like California, possibly New York, Illinois, Michigan, someplace, somewhere, there's got to be a Republican member of the House of Representatives with a conscience. Somewhere, someplace, there's got to be a member of the Republican Party in the House of Representatives that's a patriot. There's got to be at least one member of the House of Representatives in our Congress that cares more for the country than they do for Donald John Trump. And that person, that Republican, needs to stand up, not only on the Sunday shows, but not only in front of the newspapers, but stand up in Congress and demand an investigation toward impeachment. As much as the thought of having Pence, a religious lunatic, a religious zealot, a man that I wouldn't even want as a neighbor, let alone president, we would be better off as a country. In fact, I think the entire global community would be better off, and that's hard for me to say, with Pence as president rather than Trump. Yes, it disgusts me to think of a President Pence, especially when part of the Constitution is the separation of church and state. In Pence's brain, there is no separation between church and state. In fact, in Pence's brain, his whole brain is church, and the hell with the state. But again, I digress. We're much, much, much better off with a religious zealot like Pence than a traitor like Donald John Trump. Before I leave that subject completely, let me just say this. I don't believe that in early 2016, when Donald John was running, I don't believe he deliberately sat down and said, I think I'll become a traitor. I think I'll become guilty of high treason. I think I'll lie to the American public. Yes, that he said. But he didn't go into this thing thinking of ways he could circumvent the election. Somehow, whether it was Manafort, whether it was Flynn, somehow, some way, the Russians got to him. And in getting to him, they made it known that they could help put him in office. It's probably not much of a stretch to say that by midway through the campaign, they knew they had their puppet. Vladimir Putin knew he had Donald Trump by the with an S. We won't say what they were, but they were hanging. And they're probably as small as his fingers. But the bottom line in all this is he is and has committed treason, high treason. The same type of high treason and treason that Cheney committed and the Bush crime family committed by lying us into war? Not really, because that was truthfully done deliberately. Dick Cheney literally decided to lie to the American people. And George Bush, being the moron that he was, went along with it because he probably didn't know any better. But that was different. Cheney believed that what he was doing was okay because of his concept of if there's a 0.5% possibility that we're going to be invaded, we need to kill them first. I guess they called it their 1% doctrine or some such absolute insanity. So what did Cheney do? He and Bush decided to lie to the American people, hence lie to the entire globe, and invade first Afghanistan and then invade Iraq, start bombing all over the Middle East again. That's not what Donald John Trump did. Donald John Trump, out of total ignorance, out of stupidity, and out of monetary greed, decided that he was going to play ball with the Putins of the world because of the money. He owes, $500 million to Deutsche Bank. No telling how much he and his Kushner friends owe to the Russian mafia banks. Yeah, Kushners. Make no mistake about it. His son-in-law, that little guy who looks so quiet and virtually never speaks. Yeah, the one whose father went to prison for theft or fraud or whatever. And who was he put there by? Christie. That family is as crooked as the Trump family. And that's really why they're so close. Because Donald John knows that son-in-law, Kushner, is as big a crook as he is. The truth of the matter is they're both all guilty of high treason against the United States of America. And we, as American citizens, need to somehow, some way, figure out a way to get Trump the hell out of that office. Get him away from the buttons. We're the buttons, the buttons that he could push to wind up killing maybe 1 million or 2 Koreans if he decides to invade with missiles, North Korea. It is absolutely a frightening scenario to have a man with so little knowledge, a man who is so stupid, a man who is so dumb in charge of the most powerful nation on the planet. You've heard enough of this. I'm sure you've heard it on every TV station other than Fox or Rush Limbaugh. But the bottom line is we need to do something, whether it takes going to the streets by the millions, whether every major city in the United States needs to have millions of marchers. We need to shut down the streets. We need to make sure that every member of the House of Representatives who has an R in front of their name understands that either they get behind throwing this man out of office or they're going to be thrown out of office next. So maybe the next time we march in New York, California, Illinois, Washington, Oregon, the next time we march, maybe we ought to have some signs made up with the names of the Republican members of Congress from those states. And the Republican members of Congress from those states need to know that either they come on board to get rid of Trump or this is the last job they're going to have with the federal government. That's it for today. Have a good one. Please ask your friends to watch this show. You watch this show and stand by for more. Take care. Bye-bye.